There it is, not before the ball, not even directly at the ball. That low point and that divot is after the ball. As it's the season of goodwill, let me share with you the most important gift for your golf game this Christmas. Not only will today's gift make all of your Christmas dreams come true, they will also set you on the path for the best golf of your life in 2023. This information will transform how you look at your golf swing and will help you to realize why you're not making progress. The best golfers do this, and if you're not playing the golf that you want to, I can guarantee you that you're not doing this either. The location of the low point of your golf swing directly correlates to your skill level as a golfer. We're able to measure the low point of your golf swing, which is really defined as the point where the club hits the ground, using some advanced technology and launch monitors. TrackMan has the ability to measure whether or not your low point is before or after the ball. Expert players demonstrate the ability to hit the ball first and the ground second almost exclusively. It's one of the things that defines them as expert golfers. And this chart right here will help you to understand why you're not improving as a golfer. The best golfers have their low point the furthest forwards. Expert players have it after the golf ball for every shot, every time. The poorest players, conversely, have the bottom of their swing behind the ball almost exclusively. And that leads to fat shots, thin shots, and a complete inability to play this game with any degree of consistency. So what that looks like for the poorest golfer is as they swing down towards the ball, the bottom of the swing arc happens before the ball, as we saw from that chart, some 5 to 2 inches behind the ball. That is going to lead to problems. You're either going to hit the ground before the ball and hit the ball fat, or you're going to miss the ground, but because that's the bottom of the arc, the club will begin to ascend and you'll start thinning and topping the balls. The best players have the low point on the other side of the ball. They have it after the golf ball. That means as their club's reaching the golf ball, it's still traveling down. That gives us, the best players, the ability to hit the ball first and the ground second, get that solid contact and that compression that you're striving to get. That leads to more predictable ball striking, that leads to more predictable distance, and that allows you to play this game to a higher level. You're able to control how far you hit your shots, and that enables you to hit the ball closer to the hole more often, and that equals lower scores. So if this one skill really does separate golfers by such a degree, why aren't poorer players better at doing this? Well, there's a couple of reasons in my mind. Number one, nobody is taught to put their weight far enough forwards towards the target throughout the golf swing. In general, that's not discussed enough. And so what golfers end up doing is shifting away from the target, moving the low point back, never getting far enough forwards again, never recovering, and hitting the ground behind the ball. The other reason I believe as well is that when you practice from artificial grass or mats like this, you don't always get the best feedback as far as where your club's hitting the ground. Oftentimes you can actually hit the mat slightly before the ball, which would be an error, especially on the grass. You can hit the mat before the ball, and the mat and the club will bounce off each other, and the club will bounce into the ball, and you'll still hit something that looks like a reasonable shot. That same contact with the ground on the grass would not produce the same outcome. So very often you're practicing and getting bad feedback off the mat. So you need a way to be able to recognize where you're hitting the ground. And you also need a way to ensure that you've got your weight suitably forward at impact to allow you to hit the ball first and the ground second. This training aid is called the divot board. We've used it in previous videos, and it is by far the #1 training aid on the market as far as helping you to identify where your club's hitting the ground. Wherever your club strikes the mat, the sequence will flip and the mat will change color. If you want to learn where your club's hitting the ground, investing in a product like this would significantly improve your chances of getting your low point to be after the ball rather than before. If you swing back, have too much weight on your back foot, the likelihood is you're going to bottom out before the ball. As I just said, if you did that on a regular driving range mat, it's actually quite possible that you could still hit what would seem like a fairly functional shot doing this. But unfortunately, from the ground or the grass outside, this would result in a fat shot where the ball would fly a much shorter version of its true distance. The best players, as we just saw from those statistics, have the low point 3 to 5 inches after the ball. That means they hit the ball first and the ground second. So the first thing you would want to do is practice getting the low point, getting the divot to be target side of the ball. Never ever hitting the ground behind the ball. Never. 0 times. You'd always want to strike the mat target side of the ball. And what makes this training aid even better is you can hit shots with it. You can go ahead, make full swings with the golf ball sitting on the mat and get strong, immediate feedback about where your club hit the ground. Remember, the best players have the low point after the ball, not before. Pretty nice strike. Club bottomed out pretty much at the ball, just fractionally after the ball right there. I would take that one. That would be more than happy with that contact. That ball's gone a nice distance, pretty straight shot. The low point being after the ball is the critical piece here. How you do that doesn't really matter, but you must make sure that you're focused on improving this skill if you want to improve your golf. I've already mentioned that the main reason people are deficient at this skill is because they don't have their weight far enough forwards at impact. This is the pressure plate from Y-Golf. It's another training aid I've featured on the channel before, and I've been using it a lot in lessons recently to help golfers feel they get their weight far enough to the left at impact. Let me show you how this works. So the pressure plate is a training aid which you stand on and has a curved bottom that allows this plate or this mat to shift from side to side. A lot of golfers get lost in the weight shift and the real way that that should work. And typically, as I've already said, many poor golfers will find that they get their weight stuck on their back foot, both during the backswing and then throughout the downswing and into the follow through. This leads to significant issues with contact and also distance. The best players will have their weight forward when they hit the ball. So as I'm transferring on this mat, I'm pushing into this left leg and I'm pushing the left side of this mat into the ground. And I have a lot of success helping golfers to move their low point forwards, practicing the pushing down into the left side of this mat through impact and hitting shots where they focus on having 100% of their weight through this left leg at and just after impact. This pressure plate can be used in different ways. The fact that it rocks from side to side will have some people tell you that you should be shifting to the right on the backswing before shifting forwards again in the downswing. And if that gives you the desired outcome of putting the low point after the ball that you want, then I'm all for that. But for the vast majority of you watching this, if you are struggling with contact, I wouldn't even entertain the idea of ever going that way. Set up on the mat, keep the weight slightly forwards to begin with, and keep the weight forward throughout. If you do that, you give yourself the highest likelihood of keeping the low point of your swing forward of the ball. That equals better contact, better, more predictable distance, and ultimately lower scores. That contact is so solid that I don't know why anyone would choose to do it any other way. Shifting back, staying back, hitting the ground in the wrong place, flexing arms, lack of distance, loss of power, it's all there for you to see. The highest handicappers have the low point the furthest back. The best golfers have the low point the furthest forwards. So if we're truly serious about training low point, which if you're trying to improve your golf, you should be serious about training this skill. If you're a high handicap golfer, you are deficient at this skill. If you're an expert golfer, you already have the low point of your swing far enough forward and under control. So you should be training this skill. Keep the weight on the front, hit the ground after the ball. Sounds simple. Most of you can't do this, okay? So you should be training yourself to improve this skill. The feedback of keeping the weight on the left via the pressure plate and the feedback of hitting the mat after the ball via the divot board are going to be two of the best investments you make in your golf game this winter. It's perfect. Ball, divot. Perfect shot, and again, predictable distance. One of the things that doesn't get spoken about is how important controlling the distance you hit your shots is. It really helps you to hit the ball closer to the hole, shoot better scores. If you're hitting the ball inconsistently from the ground, you're getting inconsistent distances that this club is going to travel. Basically makes it impossible for you to know which club to choose while you're out on the golf course. So better contact is a skill you need to learn. Moving the low point forwards will help every single one of you. And before we wrap things up today, does this work with the longer irons or the hybrids or the fairway woods? Yes, it does. It also works with the wedges. You should have the low point after your ball with every club in your bag except the driver. So this exercise with the plate and the divot board works with all the clubs in your bag. You can take this to the driving range and practice the skill of putting the low point further forward with every single club. That was a better strike. Low point happened at the ball pretty much. Contact was solid. I'd be happy with that one. So that's a 4-iron. Does it work with a 4-iron? Yes, it does. Look where the divot is after the ball. And I'll finish by hitting a pitching wedge now, just to show you once again the rules are the same. In fact, when you think about the game from the green backwards and the shortest short game shots that you'd hit, for the most part, you've always been told to keep your weight on your front. And the reason for that is it helps you to hit the ball first and the ground second. There is absolutely no reason why you should change that approach, even if you're trying to swing back further and hit your shots longer. So once again, where should the low point be for this club? Yeah, you guessed it, after the ball. There we go again. Divot board marked just after the ball. It's a skill you have to practice and develop. This is not a God-given right to be able to do this, but the reason the best players make the game look so easy is because they've developed this skill to the extent where hitting the ball first and the ground second becomes natural. If you can do that, it will be the best gift you can give to your golf game this Christmas. So there you have it. If you're lucky enough to have access to a TrackMan launch monitor, then you can train this skill using the measurements on the machine itself. But for most of you, you will not have that luxury. So you should consider setting up a training station that allows you to get the feedback on where the location of your low point is. If you're interested in picking up a divot board, the link is down in the description. This will be one of, if not the best investment you can make for your golf improvement for 2023. Take a look at the website, pick yourself up one of these and start training that skill of low point control. And if you're interested in picking up one of these pressure plates from Golf, our friends there are offering 15% off if you use the code CHINI15. The link for the pressure plate is also down in the description, and I think the combination of both the divot board and the pressure plate here will create the perfect environment for training low point control. Guys, if you enjoyed today's video, please go ahead and hit that like button, and if you want to give me a gift this Christmas, then you can go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed to the channel. I wish every single one of you watching this and all of my other videos a very Merry Christmas. And if you're still struggling with your low point control after working with both of these training aids, you're going to need to go and watch this video next, which discusses the important role of the wrists and how that influences the location of the low point.